Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you all must have guessed from the title of this video is going to be about book recommendations. And a lot of times on my AMAs on Instagram, I get questions from girls who are pageant aspirants as to how to prepare for the question answer round in the pageant, how to improve their communication skills, how to enhance your vocabulary, how to get better at public speaking. And one of the main advices that I give to all the young girls, whoever asks this question to me, is read, read and read. Guys, I've been a bookworm ever since I was a child, and I really think that what you read shapes you to the person that you become. And eventually, like, the more you read, the more clarity you have in your thoughts and the better you can articulate your thoughts, because what you think is going to come out of your mouth. So your answers are first formed here before you actually speak on stage. So in this video, what I've done is I've categorized all the books that I'm going to recommend to you based on different topics that I thought are quite relevant to pageants and also the beauty with a purpose aspect of the pageant. So let's dive straight into it. So the first category that I want to talk about here is books that help you with life lessons and people skills in general. And the first book, one of my favorites on that list, is How to Win Friends and Influence People, written by Dale Carnegie. I'm going to leave all the links to the books in my description box below, so you can purchase them from there. Now what this book is about is it helps you learn how to communicate and deal with all kinds of people. You may deal with very difficult people at your workplace, in your family, anywhere, at shoots. So sometimes you need to learn conversation skills that makes the other person feel important and not get offended, and at the same time you are putting your point across. This is a gist of the book, but I highly recommend that you read this book. So that is the first book on this list. The second one is The Dip, the little book that teaches you when to quit. It's a book that I've recently read, and it helped me make a lot of decisions in life. So all of us are taught from the very beginning that, you know, it's wrong to quit, or like quitting is like giving up and it's a bad thing to do. And so because of that, a lot of us do not quit things, no matter how much of a dead end that journey might be. So this book is recommended for people who are, for everyone, and especially for people who are, you know, feeling indecisive about certain decisions. Maybe you want to switch paths, but you're not able to understand, like, am I going to be a loser or do I quit on this? And it's okay to quit on things, because sometimes, you know, things have to fall apart to make way for better things. So this is what this book is about. It's a very short book, a very quick read, but very helpful. The third book on this list is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. It is my all-time favorite book. I'm sure if you guys follow me on social media, you must have seen me raving about Mitch Albom a lot. And this book, I've read it multiple times, in fact, guys, and it teaches you just how to live life to the fullest, because it's about a professor who is in his last few days because he has a fatal disease, and this Mitch Albom is visiting him every Tuesday. And you know, when you know that life is about to end, that is when this professor gives you lessons on how he lived life to the fullest. Even in his dying days, he doesn't have any regrets. And this book taught me a lot about kindness, self-discipline and moral values that I think each one of us should inculcate, because eventually it's something that my mother taught me, that success comes later, but before all of that you have to be a good person. So I think that describes what this book is about, and I've read it multiple times because sometimes you need a constant reminder to yourself for life lessons like this. The second category that I want to talk about is women empowerment. This is just a topic that comes up in pageants quite often. You might get asked questions about it. You might feel strongly connected to it, because a lot of girls talk about what do they want to do with, you know, the platform that this pageant is going to provide to them. And empowering women is something that I feel all females are connected to. So if you have read a lot of books and you're able to, you know, articulate your thoughts better and use certain quotes from these books, it would always be a plus point. So that's why I'm going to recommend these books to you. And also, A Beauty with a Purpose project could also be about women empowerment, providing employment to women. Suman Rao's project is about that. The first book on this list is Becoming. It's written by Michelle Obama, and I'm sure all of you know who she is. She's the First Lady of the United States. And so in this book, she talks about a lot of topics that, you know, within this book you'll feel. So one of them is women being a female in that leadership position, how she handles all of the things. Also, it helps you get a perspective on, say, the Black Lives Movement that is going on right now, and Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were the first black people to be in that position. So reading their struggles and how different in their skin color, what role it played, how people go through that, and their upbringing, their background, how it's different from white people, it gives you a very deep insight into that, and it's amazing. And also, sometimes there is this question in pageants, like if you were the prime minister for a day or president for a day, what would you do? So I think reading this book will give you an insight into that as well, like what all aspects of a country's growth does a political leader think about. So that is my first recommendation for this list. The second recommendation is Lean In. It's written by Sheryl Sandberg. She is the COO of Facebook, and what she talks about in Lean In is basically how women should take up leadership positions in the corporate world. Like, she's talking about the corporate world, but I'm sure it holds valid for any area. So as women, I think if you say women do not feel qualified for a certain role, if you ask in a room who is going to volunteer for so and so role, more men will raise their hand than women, because men, even if they don't entirely qualify for the role, they are still confident. But women are like, even if you don't fulfill one criteria, you'll be like, no, I'm not suitable for this role. And it's just the way women are brought up that I feel sometimes we are not that confident, or we are not that big of a risk taker. And also, most of the times we are taught that we have to look for mentors. Why can't we be the mentors? So Lean In is all about women taking up leadership positions and being less grateful for what is given to them. Because you know that saying where women are told, you should be grateful you have this, but nobody says that to a guy. So you should sometimes, being grateful is a good thing, it's a quality to have, but at the same time, in certain scenarios, women should be less grateful so that they strive to achieve more. This is what Lean In is about. The next book that is on my list is Girl Stop Apologizing. It's written by Rachel Hollis. Again, this is a book that I recently read, and I posted a lot about it on my Instagram. Now, this book is something that teaches you, especially women, that do not be ashamed of your dreams no matter what. And it's okay that if you don't know how to do a certain thing. Sometimes not just women but even men, all of us have been in a place where we really want something but we're too shy and ashamed to tell somebody, because what if they say, oh, tumse nahi ho payega, and how can you dream so big? And even if you say that you want to dream, like you want to achieve this, you have this dream, but right now you don't have the skill set to do that. So this book is going to motivate you to like pursue and achieve your dreams, and how to get to that, like how to achieve because you know, hope is not a strategy. It's one of the quotes from Rachel Hollis's book, and I really loved that, because dreaming about something is one thing, but breaking it down into realistic goals and achieving that is a whole new strategy. And it basically motivates you a lot to make roadmaps, to get rid of all the excuses that you have to achieving that goal. Like, I have kids, I don't have time, I have a job. No, like this book is going to make sure you get rid of the excuses, build self-discipline, and also start telling people about your dream, because in a way or the other it holds you accountable for that dream and that pushes you to achieve it. So I think it's great for women to read and get self-motivated. And you know, all of this, the way that I'm talking right now, this is going to help you in a pageant, because you need to sound confident and you need to know, like, what is your dream, how do you plan on achieving them, all of these questions. This book, if you read it, you'll be able to, you know, think more clearly and answer those questions better. The third category that I want to talk about is education. Now, a lot of Beauty with a Purpose projects are focused and centered around the topic of education and the importance of it in every child's life. And so if like you will be working on this project, but at the same time, if you knew someone's story where, you know, not getting education at an early stage of life and how it impacted their life, and how once they got education they bloomed into these beautiful human beings, that perspective is going to help you, one, feel more strongly, deeply connected to your project. Two, you might be able to see similar stories in your surroundings. And three, it will obviously help you have a broader perspective and, you know, articulate your thoughts. Again, like you could cite instances from these books that you read and use them as quotes in your answers, in your projects, and it's just going to make you give you a better insight into the whole problem of illiteracy and not having education. So the two books that I recommend in this list are The Educated. It's written by Tara Westover. So I just wanted to point out that I do have this book over here. This is Educated by Tara Westover. So I've read it and it's amazing, and it's heartbreaking at times what lack of education can do to children. And so it's about a little girl who does not get formal school education at her young age, but when she moves out of her house and goes on to receive formal education, how her life transforms. And you know, these books will teach you that sometimes you don't always have to listen to your elders, like, because in this story the elders were pretty conservative when it came to education and they thought homeschooling is best. While I'm in support of homeschooling, this book is going to tell you what formal education to do through something, and obviously, like, you always have to be more and more open-minded to accept new things. This is what this book talks about, and I think it's a very transformative book. It's pretty famous. You should check it out. And the second book that I want to talk about is The Glass Castle. So this is also another book which is a very similar story to Educated, and I think if you read both of these books, it will give you a very strong hold on the topic of education and why it is so important for anybody. The next topic that I have in mind is mental health. Again, this is a very relevant topic right now, and also it's a very sensitive topic, so it's very important that you be thoroughly educated about it, because it won't be correct to, you know, be speaking about mental health if you haven't done your research or if you're not completely informed about how people who do suffer through mental illness feel. So two books that I would recommend in this topic is Bell Jar. It's written by Sylvia Plath. She's a very famous poet back in the 19th or 18th century. And so this book, she had gone through a mental illness, but back in those days it was not, mental illness was a taboo, first of all. So this book will give you an insight into how it feels to have your health tabooed, and how she underwent the whole process of, you know, losing her confidence and how it impacted her whole life. It's a very sad book, but it gives you a great understanding of what it feels like to go through that. And the second book is Building a Life Worth Living. It's written by Martha Linhen, and this book talks about bipolar complex. So it's a book that again I've read very recently, and Martha is someone who has gone through mental illness, and she grew up to be a psychiatrist for bipolar people, because as a patient in the hospital she made a vow that I will make sure nobody else goes through this. I think that's written by very strong women. I was just in awe of what she went through and how she grows up and starts helping people. Like, she knows exactly what is going on through their head, why people commit suicide, why people behave. And sometimes, you know, there's a very sensitive topic that she talks about, that people who commit suicide and people who attempt suicide, there's a very fine line between that. So I would highly recommend that you read this book to get a better understanding of mental health issues. And yeah, so those are the two books in this category. Another book that I would highly recommend is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Now, a few years ago there was a rape crime committed at a very prestigious institute, and so the essay written by the rape victim to present in court had gone viral over BuzzFeed, and this is what this book is about. So, you know, if your project is about women's safety or addressing all the rape cases that happen in our country, it's a very prevalent issue. My own project was also inspired through this. So Know My Name is a book that will give you an insight into what goes through a rape victim's head. It's her journey through over a year of court trials and what she wanted to say to her abuser, and how the other party is, you know, handling the legal process. And basically it tells you that what a person goes through as a victim is very different, and how the court sees it. Like, to the court you're just a victim, but you are a human being. It's affected your entire life. Once you read narratives like this, you cannot unsee it, and it will just make you feel so much more strongly about the whole thing, and your project might be inspired from it. The last topic that I want to talk about when it comes to book recommendations is the topic of adoption. Now, this is something that I feel strongly about, and I did speak about it throughout my pageant journey. So when it comes to adoption, there are two books that I would highly recommend. It's a topic that, first of all, in our country, it's not spoken about that often, and not everybody seems to be very supportive of it. I'm sure if you speak to your own family members about it, most of our parents' generation or the ones before that would not understand why someone would want to adopt, and because there's always this inclination towards, you know, having your own bloodline extend and all of that. So for that, I would recommend one of the books is by Mitch Albom, which is Finding Chica. It's one of his most recent books, and so again, Mitch Albom is my favorite author of all time, and Finding Chica is a very heartwarming book about how he adopts a child. And so Mitch Albom does, you know, run an orphanage, and so this is about Chica, who is a little girl and she has a fatal disease, and how they adopt her, and how, you know, having to be adoptive parents of a child who is going through a disease that is going to eventually take her life. It's a very intense book emotionally, so I would highly recommend it. It gives you a great understanding into how adoptive parents' mindset works, and like you would see that the line kind of blurs between birth parents and adoptive parents eventually, because love is love and bloodline has nothing to do with it. And the other book that I want to recommend is The Adoption. The name has adoption, and it's written by Anne Berry. This is also a narrative about parents who adopt a child, and it just tells you how the family dynamics work when, you know, there is an adopted child in the family, and it's amazing, guys. So I would highly recommend this book if you are, you know, going to be talking about this topic on your pageant, or even if your project is about that, because that would be an amazing beauty with a purpose project idea. So yeah, and all of these books are my recommendations. I've read all of them. I love every single book of these books, and this is the rest of my collection. I actually have like hundreds of books back at home and other places of the house. So if you want a part 2 of this, I could actually do that and, you know, recommend other books as well, but this one was specifically regarding pageant topics. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked the books, please go purchase them at the link given below in the description box. If you like such videos, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys very, very soon.